is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. We're here in the Windy City. Actually, might as well call it the snow-laden city today. We're here in March. It's actually still quite cold here. Cold enough for still to have snow, have snowball fights. Something a little bit weird for me, since in March is when I'm usually starting to plant out some of my summer crops in the West Coast. In any case, why I'm here today is to go to the 2014 Chicago Flower and Garden Show. I definitely can't wait to get inside and share with you guys some of the ways you can grow more food at home. So let's head inside to the Chicago Flower and Garden Show 2014. Thank God I'm actually now inside here at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show. Man, so cold outside. Not used to this crazy cold weather here in Illinois. Any case, inside at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show, there's many different areas to discover. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a pan shot to kind of show you guys what it is and talk to you about some of the different areas real quick. Overlooking the Chicago Flower and Garden Show, there are different display areas, mostly containing non-edible plants. It's really nice to see all this green and in, artificial environment. I wish this was really outside. It looks pretty cool. It looks like I could even take a little vacation in that little pagoda hut, like I'd be in Bali or something in a hotel living, which would be nice. But there's a good percentage of edible displays, but most are ornamental. So what we're going to do in this part of the video here is we're going to go down to some of the edible displays that are going to help you learn some of the ways they're growing food here and how you can grow some food at home. So now we're at the display garden of the Urban Farm to Table. This is sponsored by actually a high school here in Chicago that's dedicated to teaching agriculture. I think this is a very important concept that every school district in the nation should have a high school dedicated to teaching kids about agriculture. I mean, think about it. We all need to eat. They have some amazing examples of growing food and how you guys can grow some food at home. So because you probably aren't able to make it here, I'm going to share some of these growing tips with you, especially useful if you're here in Chicago. Being outside here in Chicago, it's really cold, but yes, you can still grow plants in the wintertime in Chicago with something like this. I call this a little hot box. And what they're doing basically is they got plants planted on the inside, and they got basically a framing, like 2x6, 2x12 framing on the outside. And then they got some old recycled glass windows from a house. You could, double pane probably might be better. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna raise this up in the daytime to get some air circulation when it's nice and warm. Close it up in the night. It's gonna retain some of the heat at night, and it will allow your plants to grow. One of the things I've noticed here in Chicago is like inside, behind some windows in the sun, it's actually nice and warm, but the problem is it's so cold that the warm air gets diluted with all the cold. So if you could create literally a little miniature greenhouse to keep your plants warm, they're gonna grow for you and they're gonna do quite well. Let's go ahead and take a look at another way you can also grow some food here in the colder months here in Chicago. So besides using a hot box or what most people call a cold frame that you guys just saw, you can also have a little raised bed in-bed garden, but put hoops over it and have a little hoop house raised bed garden. And what they've done here is simply taken some inexpensive PVC, and they've actually put the fittings, actually drilled holes into their framing and stuck the fitting into there. And these are like the fittings that are like this angle. I think they're like 45-degree angle. And then they put the PVC in up over the top, and then they have connectors to make it more solid and to connect the pieces. And then they're just putting some nice plastic over it. I definitely encourage you guys to get an agricultural-based plastic, because if you just get the cheap plastic sheeting from the Home Depot, it's going to degrade probably within a season. The UV light's going to degrade that stuff so quickly. But this is a way that you can actually keep it warmer underneath here in the days and grow some more cold-tolerant crops. So plants such as leeks and kales, collard greens, cabbages might do well in a system like this, as long as you get good sunny days, and you got to make sure you're covered at night and get some air circulation in there as well. So here's a real cool way to grow some things vertically in your yard. I mean, what they're doing here is cool. I've never seen this in all my travels. Looks like they got some 5-gallon buckets here sunk into the ground. Of course, you don't need to sink it in the ground, but you might want to do that for some stability. And then they basically just got like a 4x4 plastic post that you'd use to put up a fence. And then actually they got some PVC pipe that's actually stuck into it, so they got it really tight at a nice angle. And then they got like little net pots with the ceramic ball for hydroponics, and they're growing a lot of different herbs out of them. They got these little tower gardens that they made. So this is totally ingenious and definitely a good use of some of the products to grow some food vertically at home. Normally I'm not a big fan of fences because you can't really grow something on a fence, and everybody has a fence between like their neighbors and them. On the back side of this wall, it's just a solid wall, so your neighbor sees nothing but wall. But on your side, they actually put these pallets, these wooden pallets, and they filled it with dirt, and they're planting a whole wall of different lettuces and strawberries and kales inside. So this is an amazing use of some space to grow more food vertically. So here's a way to garden if you don't have any garden space. You can literally grow on a wall, and it's an excellent example of doing such. And what they're using today is they're just using standard rain gutters, so metal rain gutters that they actually have slopes, so it kind of goes down. You can kind of see the water running down that one, and this slopes the other direction, runs all the way down, the water goes down to the next level, and the next level, and the next level. And it's feeding all the little plants that are in there, so it looks like they got some thyme, basil, oregano, and some cilantro growing. And they got a pump that's just pumping the water and recirculating the water constantly so that you could have herbs growing on your wall. Now we're at the booth of the University of Illinois Extension Office, and what they do is they teach people about growing food, about gardening, all this kind of stuff. They have a little brochure here about growing and exploring Asian vegetables, which I would encourage all you guys out there to grow some Asian vegetables. They're unique and interesting crops that you may not have ever tasted because they're not generally available at your local grocery store. But when you're growing your own food, you get to choose what you want to grow. So they have all different kinds of mustards, mabuna, mizuna, all different kinds of cool stuff. Now, I want to also remind and encourage you guys that, most states in the nation have a university extension office dedicated to teaching you guys where you live the specific plants and vegetables that are going to grow best, that are recommended to grow in your area, as well as when to grow them through your local university extension office. So be sure to reach out to your local university extension office to get the step-by-step guide on how to grow food in your area. As much as I know my zones fairly well, what to plant, what to grow, and you learn this over time. But if you're new into gardening, your local university extension office can be a great wealth of knowledge to help get you started. There are many areas of the flower garden show that I'm not going to show you guys. Actually, one that's really nice that I like a lot, being here in Chicago. Everything's kind of dreary outside this time of year. This is a tulip garden. And I want to encourage you guys to plant flowers that are also edible. Plant some daylilies. Daylilies look beautiful, but they're also edible as well, and they're going to grow great here in Chicago. What we're going to do next is actually show you guys some of the different areas on ways you can grow food at home, and maybe even some uncommon plants you could also eat. Now we're here in another area of the Chicago Flower and Garden Show, and this area is the highlight, actually, some of the plants you can grow that will attract other earthlings. So those are creatures that live on Earth, not necessarily humans, but things like insects and birds. And did you know the Baltimore Oriole is more than just a baseball team? They're actually a bird that love to actually visit the golden Alexanders to eat the bugs off of it. Many other birds may visit other flowers for their nectar or pollen or whatever. And I want to encourage you guys to grow some plants that are going to encourage beneficial insects and wildlife into your garden. They are a part of the ecology, part of nature, and they can help control some insects. In addition, many people don't know that the golden Alexanders are also edible for us. I would encourage everybody to visit a website, pfaf.org, to learn more about some uncommon edibles that you may already be growing or that you could be growing in your landscape to feed you and your family. Probably my favorite display garden at this whole place is right there. It's the Peterson Garden Project, and what they're doing is it's a basically display of the book they wrote specifically to the Chicagoland area to allow people to grow more food and teach people more specifically how to grow and prepare their own food. I mean, this is one of my missions, and I'm glad there's this organization in town to help the people of Chicago to do, what I do in a more localized setting and to give them hands-on instruction, and more importantly, write an important instruction manual on how to grow food if you live here year-round. What they're showing here is mainly the work of the book that they've done, and this is the Fearless Food Gardening Guide in Chicagoland. I know a lot of you guys may not have yet started gardening because you're like afraid of gardening. Don't worry, I guarantee no plants will ever bite you back, neither will the dirt. So don't be afraid of gardening. I mean, I know new things that are new, that are different, that you haven't tried before can be quite fearful because you don't know what to expect. But with this guide, it takes out the fear so you can grow food fearlessly, because what they've done is they've done all the work, they've done all the research, and this is literally a food manual on how to grow food specifically month by month here in Chicago and also other places in zones 5 and 6. So if you live anywhere in zones 5 or 6, definitely would recommend this guide, because what it does in here is every month it tells you exactly what you should be doing to get successful growing results in your garden. In addition, it talks about composting and all the good things on how to grow a natural organic garden. And so what they've done, and they've even go over different bugs and pests and stuff. And what they've done in this booth is actually take their book and expanded it out to share with people attending the Chicago Flower and Garden Show what they should be doing as to edibles each month of the year to keep some food growing year-round.
Now we're going to walk into the Peterson Garden Project Fearless Food Gardening presentation here. I think first I want to walk over and share with you guys what they're doing and how you could grow with them. They have, I think, 8 different community gardens all around the Chicagoland area, and there's things that you might want to know about the Peterson Garden Project. They're inspired by, you know, the Victory Gardens in World War II, and they want to replicate the World War II Victory Garden model and teach as many people in Chicago as possible the valuable skill of growing their own food. So let's see, more than 40,000 people have been engaged in gardening classes, lectures, and events since 2010. To order the book or learn more, if you live in the Chicago area, you want to visit petersongarden.org. Definitely think an organization like the Peterson Garden Project should be, you know, pretty much in every city in the nation to teach this valuable knowledge to how to grow your own food. I mean, we all need to eat, and most people do not know how to grow their own food. They know how to go to the supermarket, grocery store, fast food restaurant and buy some food. I mean, this is a skill that should be taught in every school around the country. Really like the layout of this booth. It's actually nice and large, flows very well. And here's January and February, and it says winter in Chicago is daunting. By January, the holiday frenzy has subsided and cold weather has settled in for the long haul. You're stuck indoors most of the time, daydreaming about warmer temperatures and hopefully even learning some stuff by watching my videos. But hopes of spring eternal as the days go by. Now is an opportune time to imagine and plant your garden. And get all your tools and everything and supplies ready. Of course, then you're going to want to, you know, plan your garden and draw it out on a map, a little guide, and maybe even, here's some how you can do it. Have a little raised bed with trellis for vines. Maybe even start your seeds. They even teach you how to, build a raised bed with a drill and assemble it, so it's nice and reinforced. Of course, that's in April time. And then, protect your plants from cold and pests, so putting up fences to prevent animals, and from cats pooing and peeing in your empty raised bed. Showing you guys how to have a row cover or a total cage over your entire raised bed, or how to keep your plants warm with clochets, whether it's a glass or a cut-off plastic jug. Also telling you guys how to read a seed packet. They have examples of seed packets here so that you can try and read. Some of my favorite companies are represented, such as the Seed Savers Exchange, Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, Renee's Garden, as well as Kitazawa Seed Company. That's kind of cool, and Botanical Interests. So here's another really good example of how to grow some food just in a stock tank. If you don't have any space in the ground, just bring in a large container, fill it up with some good compost and soil, and start growing some food. Let's see, in May, they tell you what you should do in May, and now you can start harvesting and eating, the fruits of your labor, literally.
Here they're educating about growing heirlooms. Oh, this is very important. I have a video on this one. Most people don't know this. You want to do what's called cut and come again greens. I call this sustainable harvesting. And they should tell you guys which ones to eat and which ones to, leave to grow so the plants could grow more. And some of these things are not oftenly taught in, certain books because, many times people just cut the whole plant down, and harvest the whole thing, which then kind of bites you in the butt because you're not going to have as much food to eat if you don't have a lot of space. They also teach about growing vertically. And in June, they're talking about, harvesting and how to plan menus around what you're creating. I mean, this is something that I've taken for granted because I know how to use all the produce that I make in my garden, but many people do not because they're not used to, growing all their own food or a majority of their food and using fruits and vegetables in their diet. Here's a little display on the good bugs. We're taught that bugs are bad because we're scared of bugs, but there's actually a lot of good bugs in your garden that may kick ass and eat the bad bugs that'll eat your plants. These beneficial bugs tend to eat the bad bugs. And of course, July and August, talking about getting some fall crops growing. They also talk about, preserving your plants in September, and here's a simple way to preserve your plants, simply by hanging them to let them dry. Of course, October, starting to get colder in Chicago. So building something like a cold frame, or a hoop house so that you can grow, through the winter here in Chicago. And always when I come to garden events, I always learn something new. Here's something I learned new today, a new word. It's called a groovy. Are you a groovy? A groovy is a novice gardener, specifically one that is inexperienced at growing edible plants, but excited to learn more. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little tour of the Peterson Garden Project display here. And I definitely want to encourage you guys to be fearless food gardeners, because you guys can do it. Definitely with the help of like my videos that teach so much, but if you live in the Chicagoland area, you definitely want to check out this organization, link up with them, volunteer, take classes from them. More importantly, buy their books so that you can start growing your own food today. To learn more about them and their organization that I fully support, you want to visit petersongarden.org. So what I want to show you guys next is really cool. It's actually called a living wall. So you can plant, non-edibles, and they have many of these living walls basically hanging out here at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show. And they have a few planted out in entirely edibles. Let me go ahead and show you guys what this is. It's literally a screen, so if you have pesky neighbors you don't want to watch, instead of putting up a fence, have an edible wall. These are on casters actually, so you can move them into the sun. And it's a wall that actually has a built-in irrigation system that you literally just hook up a hose to and it waters automatically. And here is a nice wall full of kale and some bee balm and some other parsley on the backside. So I'm gonna go ahead and show this to you guys. Check it out, man, an edible wall on wheels, so when I'm traveling, I can bring my greens with me. Now the challenge with the edible wall is this guy is actually quite a bit of chunk of change. It's $1,400 to have your own edible wall at home. They also have smaller kits that do cost less, but still, in my opinion, they're quite cost prohibitive. But I mean, these are commercial quality. You'll probably buy it once and never have to, invest in anything again. What we're looking at now is the back of a shed actually, and they're using a product called the Grow Products, like vertical planter, to grow things vertically up the wall. I always want to encourage you guys to use every possible space in your yard and on your property to grow some food. If you only have a vertical wall, plant some things on your wall. I've showed you a few different ways you could do that, and here's just yet another way. What we're going to do next is actually go into the vendor area, and actually Grow Products is exhibiting today. So I'm going to share with you guys some of the unique features of this Grow Products wall garden that you could put up and start growing some food vertically. Now we're at the booth of Grow Products, and you can check them out at growproducts.com. Of all the different booths here at this event today, this is my favorite one by far because it allows you guys to grow vertically, especially if you're not handy, you don't have any woodworking skills. All this stuff comes almost completely assembled so that you can assemble and start growing vertically in your home today. So let's actually show you guys some of these real wood
products made here in the United States. Now what we're looking at is the vertical grow system, and this is a wall system. So unlike, a lot of smaller ones, vertical systems that I've seen before, this one encompasses like 6 feet by about like almost 5 feet tall, and it allows you to grow lots of things. So this is really good if you don't have any land to plant in, like maybe you live in a condo or apartment, you could actually attach this to the wall, or actually it's on a stand as well. And it's made out of red cedar, so that's a bug resistant and a fairly weather resistant wood to use, one of the ones that I use in my raised bed construction. I would also recommend treating this with a natural mineral based product that I do have episodes on to that's natural. But the cool thing about this system are a few things. Number one, check it out. We could take this and literally lift this whole thing off, so you could adjust this based on your plant's needs. So if your plants are tall, you can space them out, taller, and if your plants are short, like herbs, you can put them closer together so you can grow more food. Another cool thing besides being fully adjustable, you could actually just pop these guys out here, which is really nice. Each one has a liner, so the water never comes in contact with the wood underneath, so it will not rot. These ones can be used inside because they do not come pre-drilled with holes in the bottom. If you do want to have some drainage, you will want to put holes in it so it can drain to the outside. If you are using it inside, I definitely encourage you guys, not to water too much, because if it's not draining, water is going to pool in there, and that's not going to be a good situation for most plants. Let's go ahead and put this guy back in here. So besides having the little long planters, which would be great for things like herbs and maybe smaller greens like lettuces and things like that, they got these little planters here that are good for larger crops like tomatoes, maybe some peppers. And in this one, once again, self-contained in a pot so that will not rot your wood out. It's gonna be looking good for many years to come. And this pot actually holds a fair bit of soil. It's probably about a 2.5 gallon pot or so. So easily now you could grow tomatoes, peppers, and fruiting crops, as well as all your greens. You don't want to fill an entire wall because you don't have an entire wall to fill. You could get a freestanding unit such as this one. They have this size, which is the size I prefer the most, as well as one that's a little bit shorter, like 18 inches wide, instead of this one, which is 30 inches wide. And once again, these shelves are fully adjustable. Once again, they got the little removable holders here. They're quite affordably priced, and this system is expandable. This system comes with three different levels, but you could add maybe like 2 more if you're growing herbs that don't get too tall, to grow actually a lot of food in a self-contained unit. And it's on legs, so it's freestanding, so you do not need to even mount this to a wall or anything. One of the cool features that I might recommend to you guys is, one of the ways I would use this is to start my seedlings, start my plants in it. You could roll it outside in the nice sunny days and then roll it inside, and you could order it with some casters. Or if you want to, grow some herbs and will it outside in the day, will it inside at night, so you could harvest some for your dinner. Grow Products also allows you to grow in a grow table like this. Once again, perfect solution for people that live in condos, apartments, maybe rent their home, or people that don't want to bend over to work in the garden. This is a nice raised bed. I installed one similar to this for a friend that I have actually who's in a wheelchair. And this would be good for people in wheelchairs, elderly, or even if you got some back problems. And this one's a little bit different than most of the other ones I've ever showed you guys, because this is literally the square foot garden table, which allows you to grow in the square foot method. It's actually like a 2 foot by 3 foot, and they actually separate out the feet. So many times in the square foot garden, you'll use like the strings or the different window blinds or wood to separate out the little squares, so you know how much to plant and what to plant. They take it to the next level actually, and even put pots in here. So these pots here, if I could get one out, quite heavy with the soil. These pots here are basically 1 foot square pots that they have 6 of them in here. So you could grow 6 plants 1 foot apart, or if you want to fill this with like 4 smaller plants, or even 8 smaller plants, like the radishes and things like that, you could do just that. So definitely really intelligent design, and this is something that I really haven't seen before. In addition, they have irrigation setups that you could actually attach to the wall planters, as well as this unit for a complete solution, so you can start growing some food at home. If you're interested in learning more about the Grow products, be sure to visit them at growproducts.com. And now we're here at the Dr. Earth booth here at the Chicago Flower and Garden Show. I'm actually happy to see the Dr. Earth products available here in Chicagoland, and they have distribution all over the country. But I've noticed that it can be hard to find because only select retailers may sell it. If you have a True Value hardware store near you, could go in there and request them to bring it in because it is in all their distribution centers. And you know, it is a really good product. And the reason why I like the Dr. Earth products, to sum it up, you know, they're gardening in the style that I do. It's what I call biologic gardening. They have unique ingredients in some of the products that really encourage the microbes, and they also add the trace minerals into the soil so they get awesome plant growth, even organically. So actually, let's take a look at some of the bag product and share with you guys some of the cool ingredients they're using. So they got, you know, like a potting soil here. They also have a planting mix here. Now the potting soil is better for pots. The planting mix is better for out in your garden. And the reason why I like the Dr. Earth products is they have some unique ingredients that actually I use when I make up my own planting mix, you know, for beginners and people that don't know exactly what to put in their soils. This is the best way to do it. I mean, get a proven product that has the good ingredients like the Dr. Earth. So the reason why I like the Dr. Earth is because it has the earthworm castings, literally worm poop. It's really rich in biology, also rich in a lot of nutrition for your plants. Also has the kelp meal, which adds the trace minerals in the soil, as well as a lot of other good stuff. More importantly, you know, for me, is that they're not using, in the majority of their products, any kind of manures. No chicken manure, no cow manure. They don't use any cow or chicken manure in any of their products. And I like this a lot because, you know, in a natural-based system, you know, in the forest, there's not piles of cow manure that people are growing food in or trees are growing out of. You know, yeah, cows would do their business here and there, but not the mass amount of manure products. So I like that they're not using any manure products. This is, instead of using the standard bone meal, which is usually from pig actually, which is kind of weird, they're using fish meal, and the fish actually have more nutrition or minerals in their bones because think about it, they're living in the ocean, right? The ocean is rich in the minerals. That's what we get, you know, the salty water and all the minerals in there. And then also got the soybean meal, which is a non-GMO soy meal, which is a good, you know, nutrient for the plants. Now, besides just that, if you look on the back of the package, which I recommend before you buy any soil blend in a bag, you want to check the ingredients, you know. Some of the things that are most important for me are, besides just having the nutrition in there, providing the beneficial bacteria such as the beneficial soil microbes and the endo and ecto mycorrhiza, which actually helps escort nutrients into the plants. And most products out there do not contain the minerals or the microbes, and I'm really big on my minerals and microbes. It'll really, you know, allow your plants to be healthier, grow better, and yield more food for you. So besides the bagged soil products, they also have organic and biologic fertilizers you can use. They have the standard tomato, vegetable, herb fertilizer, which is good. This contains nutrients for your plants, primarily the fish bone meal to provide the minerals, but also the beneficial microbes such as the fungi and the bacteria, but also a probiotic that encourages you know, the bacterial growth. Normally you don't see probiotics in soil blends, but you'll see them in, like, you know, supplements for people to take because we also have probiotics in us, and guess what? The soil is kind of like our digestive system. Things need to be digested to get absorbed by the plants. Now, for people out there on a vegan diet that don't want to put animal products, you know, into their soil, they have a Vega vegetarian all-purpose fertilizer that does not contain any animal products. So I like this a lot for people that are trying to do that. Now, the last thing I want to mention here at the Dr. Earth booth is that every year Dr. Earth puts out a Dr. Earth gardening guide. This is the current version, and this is actually the last year's version here. And this is a free magazine. If you go to the website, drearth.com, you can request and they'll mail this to you for free. So I recommend all my viewers to go to drearth.com. I'll put a link right below this video, the link directly to get this magazine, get it sent directly to you. Besides being a good read, which it is, there's so many different useful information, you know, learning about organic gardening, you know, using, you know, products in your garden that's safe for your kids, if you got kids, and your pets. You know, we don't want to get our pets, our loved ones, sick from using toxic, you know, chemicals in our garden. And I mean, it has a couple ads built in, but there's a lot of good information, especially for new gardeners and old ones alike. I'm sure you'll learn something if you get one of these guys sent to you. So definitely encourage you guys to check that out.
and look for Dr. Earth's products at a nursery near you. That'll bring us to the end of this episode here at the 2014 Chicago Flower and Garden Show. I definitely had a fun time playing a day of hooky from my real work to come here to share with you guys all the cool edible things happening. Hopefully you guys learned a few things from this episode, including some of the products that allow you to grow food vertically, as well as some techniques that you may be able to use in your garden so that you can grow more food at home. So be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're not already to learn more tips, and be sure to check my past episodes. I have over 900 episodes now that teach you all aspects of growing food at home, because I want you guys to be a fearless gardener, be able to grow food at home, no problem, just like you're sleepwalking. Once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time. And remember, keep on growing.